Achtung, the works of YouTube. It's me again, your pal Anani, here with you for some more Let's Explain Victoria 2. Jeez, I'm sorry. Today, we'll be talking about rebels, what they do, and a little bit on advanced tactics. As you can see, Spain starts in the middle of the Carlist Wars. The Carlists have some pretty popular support. So, if we want to defeat these massive amounts of Carlists, we're going to use some advanced tactics. But first, a little word on rebels. As you can see, they've occupied quite a few of our provinces at the start of the game. This isn't a product of me sucking yet, by the way. Spain actually starts January 1st, 1836. Anyway, like actual nations proper, they can actually occupy territories, and essentially their goal is to occupy the capital. Other nations can also fight rebels, and deoccupying a province won't give it to you if you're at war. Actually, unless you're at war, it'll just go to the province owner. Anyway, the goal of theirs is, as I said, to get to Madrid. So what happens if they get there? That depends on the type of rebel. For instance, the Carlist rebels, which is what we are starting with, even though they're historical rebels, which the game does have a few of, with things like Albaldi's red shirts, what they want to do is they want to put their own king, from the Carlist throne in power. In Europa Universae 3, if you know that, these would be pretenders, but in Victoria 2, these are more reactionaries, new one to this game, where essentially what they do is they want to set back all the reforms you have and put a dictatorship or a absolute monarchy in power. As you can see, we're in HM's government right now. And basically, if you want to know how the rebels will get their goal, you can just hover over one of these. Should be the... Yes. The rebels will win if the following is true. If the capital has been controlled by the rebels for 365 days. Excuse me. There are many types of rebels, ranging from simply reactionaries that want reforms to get rolled back, to anarchists who want to set up the elite in power and are pretty much in just a no state of government kind of mind. And the most common of all for a majority of these nations, especially in this little area right here, nationalist rebels who want freedom for their people, as the game puts it, and as I put it, they want to take away some provinces from you, so you have to get some infamy taken away to get them annexed back. Anyway, well, that's just about enough about rebels. Now I'm going to pause real quick, I'm going to set some settings, and when I come back, we're going to talk a little about advanced tactics. I'm back, and today, well, not today, but for now, I'm going to teach you about what's essentially the simplest tactic in Victoria 2 with the AI, because the AI will always pretty much do it. The AI, if it sees an open province, will tend to get all unoccupied armies. Excuse me, all unoccupied armies to go after the sector. So let me just set this real quick. As you can see, the rebels have sent a very impressive 44 stack army to Zaragoza. I think I pronounced that right. I probably didn't actually. And as you can see now, this little province only has 30 supply limit for us, but for the rebels, that's a paltry 6. Basically, what's going to go on here is that the rebels will just start taking casualty after casualty, and even though our armies are inferior in size to theirs in total, they'll just start losing so many people from attrition that eventually you'll basically catch up with them, and that'll be really bad. we'll split up our army a little bit so the same fate doesn't happen to us. Now, attacking right now with this army would not be ideal. As you can see, Zaragoza has a river running through it. And things like rivers, mountains, and the like will essentially make a province harder to attack and will give slight advantages to the fence, in fact. So, essentially, it's a bad idea to try and attack the rebels, even though they're in a good province for us to, well, even though they're in a good position to do so, because the province isn't very good. We could realistically do it, but I don't want to take the casualties, and I've got places we want to occupy anyway. So, I'll jump cut again, and I'll see you again when it's time to discuss what we're actually going to do with these people. Welcome back, folks. The first step of noticing what's going on is to actually get in the battle. As you can see, this is an awful, awful attack I'm making, by the way. My units are not only disorganized, they're fighting units in superior numbers and good defensive territory. Anyway, I'll slow it down so it's a little bit more visible. As you can see, while they're fighting on, you see little numbers pop up over their heads, which, as you could probably easily guess, is how many people that the unit just lost on a roll. Now, what is a roll, you might be asking? Well, the first step to seeing what's going on in a battle is to actually go in there, and as you just saw, that is just simply clicking on a unit and clicking the little tab at the bottom. As you can see, you got your battle screen, your flag, your commander, enemy commander, unit size and makeups, and all kinds of good stuff. Up here you can see the actual battle layout, which is where things like size, width, and the like come into actual play. As you can see, we've got a mostly full front of infantry, with a little bit of cavalry at the sides, while they have just two straight lines of infantry. So as you can also see, to an extent, where unit play will actually come in, because the AI, of course, fights your battles for you. You can see artillery is behind infantry, which will give you an indication that the two in unison do get bonus, for instance. Anyway, one of the major things that comes in is the recon stat, which cavalry have, which basically lets you determine what the enemy is doing and where, and all that kind of good stuff, and that gives you a bonus to the battle. This is actually a pretty complicated screen, as you can see. Here is your dice. Both teams get a dice. We are getting a penalty of -2 for not having any of our units have an actual leader, and a further 1 for crossing a river, which means that essentially we're going on nothing here, while they have a dice of 9. Basically, what dice do is that not only do you have a basic attack that keeps on going, but dice will add on to that. So you can have crazy things happen. If you have a unit that's outnumbering you 10 to 1 who are fighting on awful territory with no good leader, while you yourself have an awesome leader on good defensive territory, essentially what's going to happen is that that enemy team is just going to get annihilated because you'll be doing thousands and thousands of damage. Well, they're basically scraping off of you. In an honest example, one time, a regiment of 5,000 Guatemalans held off over 15,000, 5,000 Central Americans, because I was still the United States of Central America, held off 15,000, Chinese troopers in their own territory, just because my general was better to the extent that theirs was not making any impact at all. Finally, you see here the surrender marking. If this little flag is gone, then you can actually run away. So if you get caught up in a bad situation, you don't have to sit there and watch your army be annihilated. One thing that the rebels don't have, however, is a dig-in bonus, and that's one of the most important parts of combat in Victoria 2. Because simulating actual real life, if you've been planted into a province for a while, depending on your technology, your digging cap is increased by 1, which is how high it can go, of course, per these techs, except the last one, they'll just start making simplified defenses. They'll stop preparing for the enemy, where the enemy is going. They'll get boosted organization and just a flat defense modifier increase. So if an enemy army has been sitting around for a while, wait for them to try and move before you make an attack. It doesn't seem like much, but that digging cap, especially if you're fighting a higher technology opponent, can really ruin your day. So, that's been Rebels for you folks. Come back next time when we'll be talking about the budget for real. I'll be back then.